So I've got the iPhone 17 Pro as well as the iPhone 16 Pro. And look, we got the space black in the 16 Pro, but no space black for the 17 Pro. So let's just take a moment and appreciate the space black. All right, so now that we got that taken care of, I want to kind of go over the comparisons between these two devices. And yes, if you have a 16 Pro, it's like, should you pick up the 17 Pro? Probably not, but there may be some people out there who are upgrading every year, and that is okay. Do you need to? Absolutely not. But if you want to, you're more than welcome to. Obviously, I upgrade every single year. Kind of want to share my thoughts and opinions about the latest devices with you guys. So that's why we're here. Let's talk about the design. I think that's the biggest change with the Pros. It feels more industrial. And when you take a look at it, just at a first glance, you can see that there. It definitely looks more industrial. And the biggest thing is the departure from titanium and switching to aluminum. Now, there is a reason why Apple did that, and that is for better heat dissipation and things like that. Now it has a unibody aluminum design right here with this glass back cutout for wireless charging, MagSafe, all that stuff. But it doesn't, at least when I look at them, I feel like the 16 Pro in the hand feels more premium, but the 17 Pro feels more industrial, and actually it feels like a Pro. Like, this phone isn't trying to be elegant and exquisite. It's industrial. It is the best of the best that Apple has to offer, and they have a different design that doesn't really look elegant. If you want an elegant iPhone this year, you're gonna go with the iPhone Air. That one looks like a luxury piece of tech, if you know what I mean. You kind of have to go to the App Store and see it in person, or if you pick it up at your local carrier store, whatever the case may be. But this is a huge change from titanium to aluminum. And some may say it feels cheaper, but for the most part, first impressions, yeah, but as you get used to it, it's not that bad. Now, the 17 Pro is slightly thicker and weighs slightly, heavier than the 16 Pro, and that's because of the larger battery too, which is awesome. And I'm going to get the battery in just a little bit. The camera layout, so the triple camera setup layout, essentially is the same layout, in this triangular shape. However, it now has what Apple calls a camera plateau. So that is pretty much taking up the entire top, not half, but a little bit less than half, but the entire from one side to the other side, rather than like the square cutout for the iPhone 16 Pro. Some may like it, some may not. Now, when we go to the display, huge changes with this display. I am also rocking a matte display on the 17 Pro. I absolutely love matte displays. But we have right here 3000 nits of peak brightness. Same display size, 6.3 inch, 120 hertz AMOLED, ProMotion, all that stuff. But we also get 3000 nits of peak brightness, which is a huge plus. And Apple has added what they call Ceramic Shield 2, which is about 3 times better scratch resistance. I'm not going to try that out. That's why I put a case. I want to protect my phone at all costs. But in the case that, some people don't use cases, which I do, by the way, this is from Thinmore, links in the description down below. This is for my 17 Pro, absolutely love them. But in the case if you're not using any, or screen protectors for that matter, there is Ceramic Shield 2. So if you want to try it out and see how well the scratches, then go right ahead. 16 Pro tops out at 2000 nits, so it's a little less. It's still very good, but obviously 3000 nits outdoors especially is going to be better. And again, with the slight, heavier size and thicker, chassis, it's not that bad. It really isn't. It's coming in at 8.75 millimeters and 206 grams versus 8.25, I believe, and 199 grams. It's really not that bad, and you get used to it pretty much within minutes. Now, when we get to the performance, on these two, essentially, day to day, I'll tell you this, they are pretty much identical. I don't do benchmark scores, and I've seen comments on my past videos like, yeah, I don't believe you. You definitely run benchmark scores side by side and you do all those comparisons. No, I don't. I literally just use them during my day and see how well, they perform. And if they're doing the same thing at the same time, essentially, that's really my test. And I haven't noticed any problems with either one. Now, there is iOS 26 already with the iPhone 17 Pro, and the stable version I finally have with the iPhone 16 Pro since, you know, its release earlier in the week, or whenever you're watching this video, a couple days before the iPhone 17's release on September 19th. And I haven't noticed any bugs, but I know that if I continue to use the 16 Pro, I'm going to come across some bugs. Actually, quite a lot. But right now, it's been pretty good. However, the battery life has taken a toll because of iOS 26. Now, with the iPhone 17 Pro, no issues on my end whatsoever. They're still really smooth, don't get me wrong. There's going to be bugs. And that's why I'm not a huge fan of, you know, iOS in the past couple of years. It's just I personally have not had the greatest experience. With this 17 Pro, it also has 12 gigs of RAM. I do believe the 16 Pro had 8 gigs of RAM, and they bumped it up to 12 gigs. So it's going to make things like multitasking, memory heavy tasks noticeably smoother. Definitely, you know, with the A19 Pro chipset, it's built on a more efficient processor. So it's going to improve sustained performance and thermal management long term. And I'll tell you this, you know, it got ever so slightly warm during the setup process. And that's normal. You know, you're transferring everything over, right? But it was like the least warm setup process that I have had in a while when transferring devices. I remember with the 16 Pro, it got very, very warm. So I'm happy to see that, you know, this with the vapor cooling chamber, it definitely is a huge help with the performance. And I'm sure that's going to equate to better battery life to overall long term. You know, right now I already see the better battery life with the 17 Pro, but long term it's going to help with that heat dissipation as well, because aluminum is also, you know, it works better with that heat dissipation. But overall, like on a day-to-day tasks and, you know, things like that, you're not going to have any problems on either one whatsoever. So it's like you shouldn't even consider picking up the new iPhone 17 Pro just solely on performance or software, because A18 Pro is still a very powerful chipset. Yeah, you do get an upgraded chipset that's going to work better with iOS 26, but it's not a reason to upgrade. I'll tell you that. Now moving over to the cameras, we both get a triple camera setup here, as it's been since the 11 Pro series. But with the 17 Pro, they are all 48 megapixels. And I believe Siobhan used to say that years ago. But they're all 40 megapixel sensors, which is awesome. Now it gets up to like 8x optical zoom, which is great. And it offers 4x and 8x optical zoom, as you can see right here. And with the iPhone 16 Pro, it just pretty much essentially goes up to 5x optical zoom. And I'll tell you this, like, again, I don't think the upgrades is a reason to buy unless you are really heavily focused, you know, on taking mobile photography and mobile videography to the next level and you want the best of the best, then I'd say upgrade. But the 16 Pro is still a really, really good camera setup, both for photos and videos. So again, no need to upgrade. But if you know, in a scenario you do upgrade, you're getting a very good setup, both for photos and for videos. I really am happy with the results that I get with Apple, especially when it comes to video, because I know, like, if I don't bring my Sony a7 Mark III with me, or I don't, you know, use it to record videos, I'll have my iPhone 17 Pro in my pocket and I can record a lot of, you know, my quote-unquote vlog content, you know, vlog clips, or, you know, other miscellaneous B-roll, whatever the case may be, with my 17 Pro, and I'll be all set to go. It will still be really high quality results. So I'm happy with the cameras on both. Obviously upgrades with the 17 Pro, but I don't think it's going to be worth it in the end, like worth upgrading. Moving on to the battery department. Larger battery with the 17 Pro and slightly faster charging. So it reaches 50% in about 20 minutes, which is great. Obviously you need that, you know, the high wattage adapter. It's going to be faster than the 16 Pro, which is a big plus. And because, you know, it has that thicker body with the physically larger battery. So I am super, super happy. And so far, this has been doing very, very well. So I'll tell you this, you know, it has pretty much lasted me about an hour and a half to 2 hours longer, you know, screen on time. than the 16 Pro. Obviously, this is, I'm still in the very beginning stages. We're going to see long-term how well this performs. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because I am going to be using this as my main iPhone. And throughout the next year, I'm going to be putting it to its tests and see how well it performs long-term. Like next year when the 18 Pro comes out, you want to know how well the battery has held up since Apple talked about having really good battery life with the 17 Pros, right? We're going to see that. We are going to see that within the next year. Again, long-term battery stuff is coming to the channel, so stay tuned. But right now, with the charging speeds being faster, it's been truly great, if you ask me. But to kind of wrap things up, I'm not going to really talk about pricing because 16 Pro right now is not being sold by Apple anymore. So there is that. You can pick it up like refurbished, renewed on different sites. It's going to be a little bit cheaper, but 17 Pro is the only one, Pro being sold from Apple as brand new at $10.99. They got rid of the 128 gigs for $9.99. They don't have that for the smaller Pros, so starting is $10.99. But to wrap things up, here's what I gotta say. The iPhone 17 Pro, I truly feel like it's a really good upgrade in every single department. Design, in camera, the software and the performance, the battery department, having all those things like the tougher display, brighter display, just more RAM, more efficient processor, the vapor cooling chamber, all that great stuff, triple 48 megapixel camera setup, all that great stuff, and a industrial, unique design, dual tone finish. I like it. I truly do like it. Now, if you rely heavily on camera quality, if you're, a mobile photographer and battery life, then perhaps upgrading from the 16 Pro to the 17 Pro is going to make sense. But if those are not too much of a concern, like, okay, you can get by with battery and camera's not that much of a, huge number one reason, then I don't think there's a need to upgrade. Like the 16 Pro in your pocket still is very, very capable. Now, some may think it's a trade-off. The 17 Pro is slightly bulkier and heavier, but when I say like slightly, it's like ever so slightly. You won't notice a difference. Like I'm going to be trading in the 16 Pro and I'm not going to notice a difference. I'm not. It's not a problem for me. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, definitely be sure to super smash that like button, comment down below, and best of all, share this video because it really does help out the channel out a lot. It will help push my content out to more people. And definitely be sure to check out my latest wallpaper pack. It's called Vintage Flourish. Links will be in the description down below. It goes a long way in helping out the channel. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next video.